Hey guys, Fish Code back again, as I promised, for part 2 of this devlog for this week. This will probably be episode 5, I guess, to just keep in line sequentially with our devlogs. Really, it's going to explain the last two big mechanic changes as far as weapon and combat system in the game. These really are the last two big features of things I need to program in our game before we can really start kind of get into level design and kind of show you guys a true vision of what I had planned for the game. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. I'm going to go ahead and click our unit real quick, and I already showed you guys on the last devlog the changes to the UI and also the new sound mechanic. So that's one way we can add that extra layer of tactics when it comes to combat. The next system we have in place is actually kind of a counterattack and support system. And so now when you go up and you move to go attack units, units can now attack back. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the zombie right here, and you'll see that now he went and attacked me. So he went to do a counterattack to, do damage back to me. And if I go off, you can see he did a little bit of damage to me. And when you do a counterattack or a support attack, it does reduce damage. Right now it's just set to 50%. So that's 50% of whatever the max damage of the attack would have been. If you're using a firearm, it does still require you to use ammo in this situation, which you'll see once we get our chance to counterattack and do a support attack. It will prompt us in a scenario when we have the option to counterattack. It will ask us if that's what we want to do. Mainly because of those scenarios where if we do have ammo and we're trying to save that, we might not always want to use that ammo. If you have a melee weapon, of course, we don't really care. As far as mechanics come towards doing the counterattack, like I already mentioned, it's 50% damage, but there's also a range requirement as far as choosing when you can and can't perform a counter/support attack. So I'll just move some extra units closer in so we kind of just see that illustrated. And so a unit that's close by, so units being actually attacked, of course, will have the option to do a counterattack, and then the other units will fall in line based off of, the same criteria of being within range. So your weapon also has to be in range for that encounter. So as we talked the last episode, say if you had a sniper that didn't have a range that was in, be extended out. So if you had a weapon whose range was not within, 3 squares, so maybe like a sniper where it has 4+ is his range, you wouldn't be able to counterattack, which is another way to kind of mitigate, I guess, the use of firearms and just long distance weapons. It force you to kind of stick closer toward, shorter range weapons. That way you kind of balance of, hey, if we do get surrounded, whatever, or enemies do get up pretty close, we can at least attack back, as compared to if all we have is long range weapons. We could pick them off from a distance, but as soon as they came in, we'd be screwed. So it kind of gives you that extra element, extra layer of depth to it as well. So we'll go ahead and pass turn, and we'll go to combat here, and we'll see this zombie attack us. And now what you'll see is we're asking all the surrounding units on our team that can help fight back to fight. And so we'll tell him, yeah, we want some support, so come help counterattack for us, and he'll fire his weapon. I've chosen not to counterattack. This unit will go ahead and attack as well, and we'll kill it. And now we got another unit come attack me. Up, and he actually killed me. And this will kind of help us lead into our next gameplay feature we have, and this is a turning system. And so if a player is killed by a zombie, then that player will also turn into a zombie. So I'm going to go ahead and just go past all this real quick, so that way we'll create a chance to create a zombie here. So this new player zombie is going to be slightly different than than our regular zombies. And as you can see right now, you can really see this more complicated, interaction of, attacking and, counterattacking and support attacking, adding a more dynamic, more interesting gameplay. If this was just move my unit, attack, pass turn, image this unit, attack, that'd be kind of boring, and it wouldn't feel very strategic, and it wouldn't add much dynamics to that. And as you can see, this whole dichotomy of what just happened, a whole lot happened in just actually technically just a turn, because we had our turn, the zombie just took its turn, but we already had some units get damaged. We had a lot of return fire, return attacks happen. So that's how interesting this gameplay can get real quickly, and how tides can change. We went, as you saw, we had this one player right here and like two other zombies, and we tapped one zombie. We killed that zombie, but in the end of it, we've damaged half of one of our players is dead now, and he's turned into a zombie. This player's been damaged, and that player's been damaged, and so it appeared that we had the upper advantage of, we had the drop on one enemy. In actuality, that one attack, because of our counterattack system, and also the noise system we implemented as well, changed the whole dynamic of how this battle turned out. If we didn't have either one of those mechanics added before, then nothing would have happened. We would attack that unit, and that unit probably would have been the one two fighting, and no one else would have been damaged. But now, as you see, we have a much more interesting gameplay scenario. And now we got this one unit who's stuck, and we got three other zombies around it. Now the player has figured out how to get out of the situation. And so once we get the attack points implemented, soon, probably not this video, maybe the next one, it's going to restrict how many actions you can perform each turn. And so you may only be able to perform 2 attacks this turn, which means you won't be able to kill all the zombies around you, which means you got to figure out what's more important, trying to get away from the situation or helping each other fight, get out of the situation, how you would do that. So it's going to be really fun, interesting to see how this all pans out once these levels get designed and things get a little bit more complicated and frantic. And as far as the difference in how behavior of player zombies work, player zombies could have the option to have different statistics compared to regular zombies, like more health and more damage, and can move further, which would aka kind of mean move farther per turn. But I felt like that was a little bit too punishing for a player, because if you already if you already just lost a unit, to have a unit die and then to make an even stronger foe than we had before, it seems pretty unbalanced and pretty punishing for a player for an accident of maybe having a player actively die like we did in this situation. So right now, the player zombies keep the same stats as the regular zombie, but the one key difference they do have to kind of punish the player, but not like punish them too hard, is that a player zombie, when it enters, will automatically choose a player at random, and that will become its target. And if that target dies, the player zombie will then choose another random player. And so the player zombie now becomes a player hunter. And so we'll always know where the players are all at any time, because technically this zombie was part of your team. So he knows where you guys are all at, and he will hunt you guys one by one, until he kills you or the zombie is killed itself. So this adds an interesting dynamic. So you can't just send one player out with a bunch of hordes following him and have him die and then just be safe. Because now, if that player was to die all right here, because you left him alone to die, now he's going to come back and try and kill all your other players, which means now your player is going to move around different. They can blow their stealth, stuff like that. You have to use more ammo not to kill him. And I would really like to add, but I don't know how to make this part of the player zombie mechanic or just another zombie type itself. I haven't decided if I want zombie types yet. But one thing would be a horde mechanic. So if I did add that to the player zombie would then choose a next player to go after. And the horde mechanic would say, as this zombie is moving, it would roar out every time it moves, and nearby zombies would then follow it, and it would share whatever target it has, which would mean you would leave a zombie out here to go do its thing, and now all of a sudden it dies from this mob. It summons a whole mob and takes it over here to come attack your player, which really means you don't want to make sure your player doesn't just dies, and if they do die, you have to be careful about it. And so one way to mitigate this whole backfire of having your player turn is we still have a suicide mechanic in the game. So if you end up killing your player off from any other damage besides a zombie attack, this player won't get a chance to turn. So instead, he'll just die as normal and don't have to worry about any other zombies running around. So that can add an interesting decision point into the game, to where you have to decide, is it better to let your player just live, or you want to waste and conserve ammo with your other units to kill him off if needed. So that's all for this week. Hope to see you guys in another 2 weeks. Goodbye.